So I asked the question, got some interesting responses here. I highlighted a couple of them. I asked the question before the break. I'd actually be curious about your response before we dive into some of these other responses. Everyone, I mean, James, I think has it tattooed on his right arm. DeMar DeRozan does not fit the Sacramento Kings. Okay, fine. Here's my question, though. Is DeMar DeRozan's lack of fit his game, or is DeMar DeRozan's lack of fit the way this team is constructed? Because we talk about Scott Perry's first order of business. You better answer that question, because DeMar is too good of a player to just be like, all right, he doesn't fit. No. What are you trying to accomplish with this team? Because I would make sure that DeMar's the issue and not everyone else. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily everyone else, but it's the pieces around DeMar. Right. So that's my question. Is it DeMar and his Hall of Fame career, or is it the way that this 39-win basketball team is constructed?
It's difficult.
Or 40. Yeah, I'm sorry. I might have shorted them a game.
It's difficult for me personally to look at the way some of these guys performed last year and say DeMar is the issue. You know, we talk about I'm not that much of a believer in you took Keegan Murray's shots away and that's why he couldn't make a wide open jump shot. Like that. Stop stalling him out for that. Stop giving him a pass for that. He had wide open looks that he was bricking routinely. He's a better shooter than that. And I don't need all that other stuff from Keegan Murray. I don't need him to create and do all this other stuff. I need him to knock down the shots that he gets. And I'm different, right? Maybe I'm different in this. I don't care if, you didn't touch the ball 5 times down court and now they expect you to hit a jump shot. Yes, they do. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. So I bring that up to say, like DeMar DeRozan, a lot of the times was the only one that consistently was giving you offense. And the fact that he was the one consistently being able to put the ball in the basket or create, or the one that you could rely on, isn't his fault. Maybe if you had other people hitting shots and people that were playing better on the offensive end, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't feel the need to shoot as much. We don't know. But I think with this particular Kings team, you can, like, if you had a different type of team, you could keep DeMar DeRozan around with his style of play. I do feel that way.
Okay. Let's start with my man Tyler, TJ, pessimistic Kings fans. My man Tyler, he says DeMar is probably the way to get into the first. I don't know entirely. I mean, certainly DeMar is a way to get into the first, but where is DeMar? Like, I don't think DeMar gets you New Orleans at 7. I don't think they get you Toronto at 9. Are we talking one of Brooklyn's picks? I also don't think they're just, if this is a thing, I also don't think they're just shipping DeMar anywhere. I think they'll give DeMar a higher level of respect than that.
I agree.
So I'm not entirely sure that that's the case. I think he can get you into the first. I'm just not really sure where. Drew Down says DeMar's style makes his fit much tougher. Okay. He's a self-creator with the ball. He's more of a mid-range guy. I guess I get that. Maybe paired alongside Zach LaVine. Maybe that's not the ideal combo. And then a very rare comment from Michael that says, I'm not sure DeMar has to be moved. I don't think we're going to get a lot of those. That's why I wanted to make sure we could highlight it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple interesting responses here so far.
I mean, I looked at. So here's also the funny thing about the DeMar DeRozan and his fit and all this other stuff. I'm not going to project, I'm not going to assume. Does anyone feel like the Kings' problem last year was their offense? Like the reason why they weren't successful is because their offense.
I don't.
I don't either.
So is that the problem?
Well, that's what they always talk about is fit. They ain't talking about on the defensive end. They talk about he's a ball stopper, right? Like that's usually the argument. So if that's the problem, you would think, oh, their offense was the problem. He was the problem. But nobody will say the Kings' offense was the problem. They'll always talk about their defense.
It felt like there was a bigger hang up offensively when Zach got here, which is a bizarre reality. But Zach LaVine couldn't get comfortable at first. And I think there were team meetings over this. You know what I mean? Starters only meetings, players, all of this different stuff. And that settled a little bit and got better. But there was far more of an adjustment after Zach got here than when DeMar got here.
Yeah, and
that's mid-season, to be fair to Zach LaVine.
Yeah, fair to him. And once again, I just it's not a cop-out, but it's just being real. Like when Zach LaVine gets here, like we got to talk about everything that was going on, and just wonder if that stuff doesn't matter, and people think his personal issues that he was going through with his family doesn't matter, or just the chaos that was the Sacramento Kings last year doesn't matter. You guys think that doesn't matter? Cool, we don't have to bring it up. But do you think the Pacers had all that? You think OKC had all that? No, there was like some harmony in those locker rooms and a lot of these other playoff locker rooms that helped. So Zach LaVine was trying to find his footing, number one, because he didn't know what the hell was going on around here. Like that's one of the issues. Then he's got to worry about his newborn baby and his wife. That's an issue as well. And then we talk about basketball. Like, where do I get my shots from in this offense? Like how do I do that? And it seems like a lot of the times we've talked about it, those the players in the locker room were urging him to shoot the rock. So it's not like DeMar or even Malik, those were the two vocal ones, were saying, oh, nah, Zach, stay over there and get the scraps. Like they were like, nah, bro, we need you to shoot. DeMar was like, nah, I need you to shoot. Here, take the ball. I need you to shoot. And I think some of the times that might have been what was going on. Look at around that lineup. DeMar, and you guys can say I'm defending him or whatever, but I'm sure there's, outside of Malik, plenty of guys who they give the ball to Keegan or somebody and he wouldn't do nothing with it. DeMar look around like, man, we ain't got nobody getting after it. Somebody got to shoot the ball. I'll shoot it. I think that happened often. There were times when DeMar would come down and not pass the ball and shoot the ball. I'm not saying that didn't happen. But there are a lot of times when the ball got swung to him late in the shot clock. Sabonis ain't being aggressive and shooting. Keegan's not being aggressive and shooting. Well, Zach LaVine was being iffy for half of those games.
What was the number when Doug took over? Was it like 10 of 11 or 10 of 12 that they won? I know they won 7 in a row.
To start,
yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that.
So did DeMar fit the team then? And I'm not trying to be a smart ass. Like I'm genuinely asking, did DeMar fit the team better when they won 10 out of 11, or was something else happening? Because the problem was Mike Brown. All right. I'm not what I'm suggesting, but they've determined that the problem is Mike Brown. Got it. Okay. Doug Christie comes in, you lose to the Lakers, you win 7 in a row. And I believe the number is 10 of 11 or something along those lines. Very good win percentage over the first 11, 12 games. That was not it. So I get, okay, DeMar's a perfect fit now. Boy, this worked out well. Coincidentally, Keegan Murray was hitting a higher clip of threes. Coincidentally, Keon Ellis was playing a lot more basketball. Oh. All right. Cool. Talk about fits. I'm sorry. Clutch player of the year was De'Aaron Fox a couple of years ago. Remind me how that Dallas game ended.
Or that Miami game at home. Hell, the Miami game on the road.
Oh, the Kings had been a little bit better. DeMar could have won that damn award last year. But I feel like sometimes we use it was like the thing I was complaining about with the TV broadcast. We just use generic terms that can't be quantified. Oh, he looks scared. Well, what do you mean? He's not shooting. He's not being aggressive. Like, what is he doing that makes him look scared? Them guys will never tell us. Okay, y'all say DeMar doesn't fit. Why? And then why did they win that stretch of basketball games with DeMar DeRozan on the floor for every one of them? So I go back to the original question. Is the problem DeMar DeRozan, the basketball player, or is the problem this makeup of the Sacramento Kings basketball team?
I go a step further to what you're talking about. You talk about that stretch with Doug Christie when he took over. What's one of the things they also had in that stretch that they didn't have moving forward? A point guard.
Yes, he's still on the team. Yeah,
still on the team. They had a point guard and a coach that they were all tapped in with, and they were playing a lot better basketball. DeMar DeRozan was playing really good basketball as well during that stretch. You take that point guard away from him, which is kind of what happened in Chicago as well. When people always point back to that, they talk about Levine and DeRozan. When Lonzo was available and was playing, they played really well. They lose Lonzo, didn't go as well.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not, and I don't think you are making an argument either. Nobody's making an argument that DeRozan is a perfect player or anything like that. But it was real OD about his fit on this team and him being the problem and the ball stopping and all this other stuff. DeMar DeRozan won you a lot more games than he lost you. A lot more.
I agree. What we think doesn't matter, obviously, but what Scott Perry does. And I'm fascinated to know if Scott Perry looked at DeMar DeRozan when he met him and say, I'm not trading you. I'm going to make this team better. You came here to play with De'Aaron and Doma. I can't do anything about that, but I can make this basketball team better for you. And if DeMar says thanks, but no thanks, that's a different story. But if DeMar is down to now, the other thing could have been, look, man, what I was listening to James Ham, and he's right. Square peg, round hole. Just keep it moving. And DeMar might be like, hey, salute. I'd like to be involved in the process if you don't mind. And I think given all of the circumstances, DeMar is owed at least that.
Why don't you, man, come on, man. Once again, I'm talking sports.
Look, I'll just get it over with. God, there's no point in even waiting. No, here, I'm gonna do it just in case. Go ahead.
No, this one is kind of crazy though. Why don't you quit trying to put stuff in the round hole? No, that was crazy. It's crazy, but square peg into a round hole. Like, why don't you stop doing that? Why don't you put the
That's the only way you could come up with getting your point across was saying that.
Why don't you put the square peg in the square hole? Why don't you get players around DeMar that maybe compliment him a little bit better?
Maybe you get the right puzzle pieces, Kenny. How about that?
You could have said 50 things and you chose that one.
Hey, look, man, I'm talking sports. I had to say what I had to say. I wasn't worried about the flag. It was about to be a touchdown. I had to stop it.
You dropped the football right before the goal line.
Went with the horse collar.
You Deshaun Jackson
man.
did.
I'll take this 15-yarder to save the game, man.
Apparently you will. Goodness gracious.
But yeah, how about that? They always look at it as you shouldn't be trying to fit DeMar DeRozan into whatever.
Yeah, don't put DeMar DeRozan in anything the way this show's going. Leave DeMar DeRozan alone.
Always trying to fit him into whatever you think the Kings' style of play or identity should be. How about morphing a little bit to what would help DeMar DeRozan a little bit and not building your team around him, but if you looking at the situation like you asked the question, man, is DeMar the problem or the way that we're constructing this team or the way it was constructed before Scott and them got there? Is that more of the problem? And I think it's a Real question to have.